This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode, another show, Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Joining me, as always, is Studio B from the 80-degree climate, the balmy 80 degrees in Texas, Mr. Tex Wesson. Joining me backstage, along with our fantastic guest, the Squatchfather, Santariga, joins us. It's going to be a fantastic show. We're going to cover it all tonight. We got a lot of cool pictures, a little bit of video clips from Al. So thanks in advance for Al for coming on in. Thanks to each and every single one of you for coming on in to the show this afternoon. If you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube, The Blondes and the Booze, Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World, Donnie Cho Says Stuff, the Daniel Diva at YouTube, forgot the name for her show, Tea with the Duchess, I believe it is. And we also have Truth or Tinfoil. Check them on out, of course. And I am always forgetting one person, one show. Well, text will remind me if I forgot. But thanks to each and every single one of you. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iHeart Podcast, Google Podcast. We do these shows on a podcast format, so check it out. And thank you for that. If you're new here, you can, again, subscribe to the shows. We're on 7 days a week, everybody. Turn on your alert bells because you won't miss a single episode. We don't put out the schedule anymore because you can pretty much find us 7 days a week across the board. Alert bells are key. Another key is hit that like button. Also, the super chat's open, a great way to support what we do around here. Also, you can become a BMR pirate. Join today, mateys. Arr! Join the many, join the few. Thank you so much for that in advance. Appreciate y'all. Share us, like us. And another quick bit of news. I want to thank everybody for buying my books. Of course, available on Amazon. Bigfoot Michigan Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters Book 1 and Book 2. All you need to do, Book 2 is pinned up top, but all you need to do is type Bigfoot to Michigan Rob in your Amazon browser. And for those that have bought it, thank you. Those that are going to buy it, thank you. But when Amazon comes calling, please leave a review. It's all analytics these days. It's all analytics, and it helps promote book sales. One other quick promotion, of course, is we got the big conference coming up here, September 19th and 20th. The Crossing Realms Conference taking place at the Eagleton Civic Center in Richmond, Missouri, the 19th and 20th. And we've got one hell of a lineup. We've got guest speakers and featured guests across the board. Our speakers are Josh Hurd, Heather Mosier, William Lunsford, Ronald Murphy, Dr. Dean Bertram, Greg Ogles, Danny, and Frankie from the Haunted Garage. They'll be bringing a haunted car to the event. Sir Brian Bowden. And we added one more to the list, and that's it. It is finally, the cutoff is done. Mr. Martin Groves. We all know Martin from his crazy experiences in the land between the lakes. He'll be there. We're breaking these guests up Friday and Saturday. Also featuring, we have featured people that are going to be there at vendor tables and willing to speak with all you guys. Coming to the ghost hunt with us, which is already sold out, by the way. Ken Gerhardt, Dana Stricker, Brent Thomas, Ryan Edwards, Mike Familian, Christopher Garantano, Linda Eastburn, David Glidden, and Miguel Rodriguez from Sasquatch Theory. Quite an event. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. And with that being said, thanks to everybody. I'm going to bring up my buddy from down south, Mr. Wesson. Hey,
What's up,
Tex,
man?
what's happening, man? Good to see you. You're sitting there in 80-degree weather, and I went out barefoot, no shirt on, to take out the garbage, and I fell right on my left hip because there was a sheet of glass on my driveway that it was not recognizable. I should have thought something the moment that it was shiny, and I took a step out my back door with my left foot, and boy, I planted one right on my left hip. And then, of course, I'm trying to get up. I was sliding all over the place. Slid down to the garage, slid down to the where the garbage was, and got that in there. And yeah, so I'm envious of 80 degrees, bro.
I would I wish. Do you have a ring cam on your?
Not yet. I do not. Yeah, that would have been viral. I should. Yeah, that would have been cool to see. Well, not really. I got it. I'm a little sore. That's all. Well, just a little sore.
We're getting up there, Rob. You don't need to go breaking a hip on us.
Oh, I know. Well, we got about 7-8 months away.
You have your mom taking care of you.
Oh my Lord! Yeah. Thanks to everybody. My mom is finally 100% better. She had pneumonia. She had COVID. Gosh.
Yeah. All at the same time, man.
All at the same time. She was terrible on Christmas. We almost thought we were going to take her to the hospital, the ER, but we got through it. And so, yeah. But Mama's great. I want to thank everybody for your well wishes. Sir Brian Bowden's out in the chat. He sent me this concoction, I must say, Brian. I talked to you about this and gave that to my mom. In 3 days, she seemed to get better, and I've been taking it now. And I got to tell you, Brian, thanks for that ingredient. Thanks for the ingredients. Everybody hit the like.
He's an apothecary now.
Yeah, right. Sir Brian Bowden, 10,916 podcasts. He's not a doctor, but, he's a smart guy. I'm sure he knows as much as most of these doctors do. So go check out Brian. He's got a channel out there called Sir Brian Bowden on YouTube. Check him on out. With that being said, I'm going to bring up one of his buddies from New York. Longtime friend. He's been on the show several times with myself on this channel and Texas channel, Mr. Al Santariga.
Hey, Rob. Hey, Tex. Thank you for having me, brother. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's always a pleasure.
Digging the beard, dude. It looks good.
I just dyed it.
Don't give your secrets away, man.
What secret? I'm 62 years old. Give me a break.
Well, Al, you do now. Okay, you do dye the beard then?
Oh, absolutely. I have to. Yeah.
Because it was weird. The very first time I met you or knew about you, I was surfing the channel and someone suggested look up Al Santariga, and I did. And yeah, it was back. I got your very first pictures, man, where you had like almost that Godfatherish white beard coming in. And then when I met you on the screen, I'm like, this ain't this Al guy. He looks 20 years younger.
Oh, yeah. You know what? My son's girlfriend just came up from the city not too long ago, and she's looking at the wedding photos, and in the wedding, that was like 8 years ago. I had hair and I had a white goatee.
Yeah.
And she's looking at the wedding photos, and she turns to my wife and says, who's the big dude in the photo? Because I sky over everybody. Everybody's short in my family. And my daughter goes, it's my father. And she looked at me. She looked at the picture. She goes, nah, that's not the same guy. She couldn't believe that that was the same guy in that photo. I said, yeah, that was before cancer when I had hair. And once the hair went, I dyed. I got rid of the goatee. I went with the beard, and I just dyed it.
Yeah,
well, good, brother.
Yeah, you look really good, man.
Look
really good. And it's always a pleasure to have you on. And we got a lot of things to cover, Al, because we can talk Bigfoot, Dogman, Paranormal, and you sent me some recent pictures and some video clips, excuse me, which we're going to share. But I never asked you this question. How did the Squatchfather, how did you get coined with that?
I was doing Chris Reinhardt's show, Discover Sasquatch, I think it was called, and Discover Bigfoot. I forgot, changed the name a couple of times. And he labeled me the Squatchfather, and it just stuck. And that was the end of that. Yeah. And everybody just loved it. And everyone's like, just keep it, keep it, keep it. So I was like, okay, I'll keep it, you know. I've had a million nicknames over the years. You know, anything under the sun, people call me all kinds of stuff. And
probably some we can't say live on air either, I imagine.
But I remember when I first started doing paranormal interviews, it was basically, back then it was all basically ghost stuff and UFOs. And my brother coined me, what did he say? The X-Files Santariga. He said if the X-Files ever run out of episodes, they could just use some of your investigations, you know. And that was the first one in the paranormal realm. And then I kind of just went away and I started doing more Sasquatch stuff. And then Chris labeled me the Squatchfather, and now that one's just sticking. So it's funny how these names come and go and stuff. Now I got a question for you, Rob.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
How many pirates are on Lake Michigan? I had never heard of any pirates on Lake Michigan.
Well, there's several, believe it or not. But
okay.
Actually, you know, I didn't even coin the phrase become a pirate member. You know, I set up the membership thing, and then, but a lot of people said, Rob, you're always sporting that pirate bandana.
Yeah, sure.
So kind of, that's just kind of how it, you know, it kind of, I just, on a whim, I just said that on a show one day. That was
it. That's all.
And then it stuck, and now everyone's like, "Hey, pirates! Hey, mateys!" This, that, and the other.
That's great. It's a beautiful
like, you
thing.
know, like my real name isn't Bigfoot Michigan Rob. I mean,
yeah.
In fact, I tried to change that, and people said, if you change that, your YouTube channel will flounder. We all know you as Bigfoot Michigan Rob or BMR. Because I kind of didn't want to pigeonhole the show as just Bigfoot. Now we do it all. Today we do it all.
Yeah, of course.
And you just can't change that. I got a logo now. It's just the trademark. It's the brand. So it is what it is.
Absolutely.
And, So, but we do a variety of everything. All of our channels across the board do a variety now. Because we're into all these things. Because, quite frankly, they're all connected.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And just real quick, Brian Bowden's new podcast. It's called Third Eye Live.
Third Eye Live. Yeah, okay. I said that's your Brian Bowden, but I think they'll pick that up on YouTube. But yes, Third Eye Live. I'm waiting for my invite, Brian. Just saying. You know, wait till you get a little bigger.
I probably wouldn't say no to one either.
There you go.
I'm sure. Well, you got two lined up, Brian, down the road. You know how that goes.
We're just trying to help you out, Brian.
You know, we do travel well, Brian, believe it or not. People get more views than I do when I go on their shows. It's uncanny. I don't know. And same with Tex as well, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mr. L, when you come on, we always have a great show as well, much like Brian. And again, before we get into the recent activity and things we're going to talk about, how did this all formulate? Were you a paranormal guy first, UFO guy first, cryptid guy first, or did it all come into play one day all at once?
No, my family is a paranormal family. My mother was a psychic. My brother was one of the first parapsychologists in the United States. So we kind of, the paranormal in my family was normal, and then every time my brother had a whole library of books in his room, and every time he finished reading one, I read it. And so, we just grew up with the Loch Ness Monster, the Yeti, aliens, and ghosts and stuff like that. And it's just natural for me to get into this stuff. The first Bigfoot experience when I was 12, the first UFO experience when I was 10. And it's just, it's just a natural progression for me. When I started the team, of course, the BPS team, Bronxville Paranormal Society, we didn't consider just ghost hunting paranormal. We considered it all paranormal. We always everybody was very like-minded. Everybody believed that there was all a connection. We were all looking for that connection back in the day. And then, so that's how it all started, and so it's just right now, I got to be honest with you. If I'm being brutally honest, I'm really, out of all of the ones that I do, Bigfoot is my favorite by far. I really do enjoy researching the squatches and finding out all these little intricate things that never even thought about, and then all of a sudden one day the little light bulb goes on and you go, oh wow, that they can see in color. It never the thought never crossed my mind that they could see in color. Everybody always kind of assumed they could see IR, but I didn't think they seen color until I did an experiment with colors and they gave me the same colors back, and then there was other stuff that went along, like back in the day, if you listen to the BFRO, they would throw out any trackway that didn't have a mid-tarsal break in it, and they said, if it doesn't have a mid-tarsal break, it's a piece of wood, throw it out, blah, 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 blah. But as time went on, I was like, you know what? No, that's wrong, because, just like humans who could have deformed feet, they could have deformed feet too. And maybe certain deformities show themselves as non-mid-tarsal breaks, you know what I mean? Because I'm finding a lot of trackways without mid-tarsal breaks, and I'm not throwing all of them out, and all of these little things started coming to me, and I was like, wow, and it's funny how experiments lead to thoughts, learning stuff that you never even thought about. You're doing an experiment for one thing and you get a result for something else, and it's just the way it works. And I really enjoy being out there with the squatches and all of my locations and interacting with them in all different kinds of ways. And I'm just happiest when I'm in the field. And it really, to be brutally honest, it doesn't matter if it's Bigfoots or Dogman or aliens or ghost hunting. I hate the term ghost hunting. I'll just call it paranormal investigating. Yeah. Whenever I'm out in the field doing something, I'm happiest. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I like that too. The ghost hunting, really. I'm sorry, Tex, really quickly. Ghost hunting, and another phrase that's been coined for so many years that I'm kind of sick of, and I respect it. Boots on the ground. We got to change that a little bit, I think. Yes, you're out your boots on the ground, but it's played over. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
Tex, you were saying, buddy?
Well, I was going to say I hate Bigfoot hunting too.
Oh yeah.
I hate that term too. I go camping.
When the term that makes me see red, according to when I'm listening to shows and they're talking about Bigfoots or Sasquatches, is the word woo. Woo makes me lose my mind. Brian will tell you, it just makes me lose my mind. It's a telepathic communications with an intelligent creature, and it's not something, woo was a derogatory term that the apers made up for all the people who thought they were more than just apes. So when I hear the word woo, I take it as an insult, so.
And that's the way I started looking at it too. But I will say this. I like the fact that the community grabbed a hold of it and said, you know what? Hey, we'll own it.
They put a positive spin on it for sure, without a doubt. Yeah.
But I still hate the term.
But if you know the history of the term and where it came from, it started off as a derogatory term, by the apers.
But I've always, and I've always been like that, people call your name or whatever and try to, make fun of you or whatever. Just, hey, own it, and it takes the wind out of their sails.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. I agree 100%. Yep.
But, I hate the term woo. And we've been talking about it for a while, so we got to come up with something else.
Yeah, the woo, I think, I never heard of the term the woo until I was watching Dave Scott, who kind of mentions the woo, which is fine. He's a friend of mine. And the woo, and the aper, the apers camp, the apers camp has run its course, I believe, because I think it's a lot more paranormal than just a an ape, as they say, running around the woods. I don't.
Yeah,
believe it.
I think their time, they had their moment in the sun, and their time has passed now. Because anybody who does this for any length of time and spends any amount of time in the woods with these creatures or any other creature that may happen to be in the woods will definitely find out that there's more to them than flesh and blood. Yes, they're flesh and blood when they're here, and you can kill them and all that other stuff. But they're, you talk to any Native American tribe from the East Coast to the West Coast, and they'll tell you the same thing. They walk between worlds. And that's all you got to know. These people have been dealing with them for thousands of years.
Do you have like an example of that, perhaps, whether it's your own experience or maybe a person that you helped do some investigating for?
Where we had one just come and disappear on us, you mean?
Yeah, we're just, I mean, not to put you on a spot with that, but anything.
No, I mean, we've had experiences where we've heard something walk in on us, and you could hear the footsteps coming and the leaves and the sticks, the twigs breaking and everything, and even the little trinkets that I'll put out for them, because I put out a lot of little different trinkets. Trinkets will go missing, but we never see anything. I mean, we hear it. But we got 4 different cameras going, and nothing is captured on any spectrum of light. So how they're able to do that is beyond me. But yeah, I mean, I've been in the woods with a lot of different people over the years, and I've had them come down and surround us like elephants. A herd of elephants come down and surround us, and yet, we got these high-powered headlamps or these, million candle watt power. Back in the day, we had million candle watt power flashlights, and you couldn't see anything. But you could. Brian, to tell you, we were with Chris Reinhardt one time up in Connecticut, researching Brian's camp. I'm walking down the trail. Brian's right behind me, and something runs by me, hits the bush in front of me. The bush starts shaking. I get bumped, and I turn around and look at Brian, and Brian's like, "Something just went by you, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Look at the bush. The bush is shaking." I said, "I just felt something bump me as it ran by." We didn't hear anything run by, but something hit the bush, and then it hit me, and then it ran past Brian. Brian felt the breeze go right by him. And his eyes were as big as saucers because he knew exactly what happened. Because I turned around like, dude, I can't believe what just happened. And yeah, that was a fun time.
So, and I've had them run through the camp too.
Okay.
But we saw them. I mean, they ran right. I mean, well, I say it ran right by my truck.
Okay.
Yeah,
no,
and
I mean,
it's, but the whole being surrounded thing, the herd of elephants, you hear something, but you don't see nothing. I've had that happen too.
Okay.
And I was by myself the first time it happened. And I had just stepped out of my truck, and I'm hearing all these footfalls all over the woods. I'm hearing some whoops. And I'm like, maybe I need to rethink what I'm doing here. Because it was like my first time to go out solo and stuff for these critters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, and I backed off and because I didn't even have cell reception where I was.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
And so I backed off, and I'm like, oh, whatever. Made a couple of phone calls. People were trying to talk me out of doing it, and I'm like, no, I said I was going to do it. And I went back, and it had settled down a little bit, to the point to enough where I felt more comfortable. I'm not going to say 100% comfortable because, I thought I knew what was out there, but I wasn't sure what was out there because the area, you have all kinds of stuff out there.
Yeah. These areas that they travel in, other creatures, other entities travel through it. They're places of high strangeness, and there's a reason for that. It's the energy of the location that they're attracted to. Yeah.
So I don't. It's weird because when they start coming up, and stuff, if you don't react, they'll come in closer. is what I found.
Yeah.
It's like they think they're being sneaky and they're getting away with something. If you hear a twig snap, don't react to it. If you hear a noise, don't react to it. Even if you see something, just act like you didn't see it. And I mean, and I think mainly that's the juveniles or the adolescents, trying to come in and sneak up on you. But and I've never had a bad experience.
No, me neither. I mean, people say they throw rocks at them. That's a bad experience. To me, that's not a bad experience at all.
Yeah.
They've never hit me with a rock.
They hit my truck.
Yeah, they hit my truck. They land all around us, but they never hit me physically. When they want us out of there, they let us know. Last one time, they broke a live branch that sounded like a 30-06 going off by your head. And at that point, you knew they wanted you out. It was time, And even though they had us surrounded, they opened up a lane to let us leave, And because they want to hunt, they want whatever they want to do, and you're in the way, so you can't be in their way if they're trying to feed, So you respect them, and like I always say, these creatures tolerate me when I go out there, because I'm always doing all kinds of different stuff that they put up with, and I've just been very, very fortunate that they, like I said, I can go to these locations and camp under the stars, and I'm not a kind of guy that can sleep outside a tent. I need to be covered, but I could go to these locations. The energy is very calming, and I know when I'm there, they come in to see who's there, and I'm sure they recognize my energy over the years, and I know I could sleep there in a sleeping bag under the stars and not have to worry about anything bothering me during the course of the night, like a black bear coming in or a mountain lion or, wolves or anything like that. I'm pretty sure they would make sure nothing happens to me, I'm very confident in that. And I may sound like an asshole saying that, but it's just been years and years of experience of working with these creatures and getting to know them, and they're respecting them and them respecting me, and vice versa.
You did take the time to send me some photos, and we also have some video I'm going to show a little bit later. I guess this is one of your research areas, I guess, Al?
Yeah, this is the sacred site. Yeah,
I'll bring up a couple, and you can kind of walk us through it, and
okay.
We'll take it from there. Everybody coming on in, thanks. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new to Tex and Rob and everybody else we're associated with. But here's this one here, basic one we'll start with, I guess, Al.
Okay, that's the top of the ridge looking over into their home range. Now, what I thought originally, the peak of the ridge that I see from the sacred site, the Western Ridge, I thought was the peak. But when I actually went up there, I had a telepathic communications with a white Sasquatch, Alarek, who told me it was okay to come up, because I had always made a deal with the clan there that I would never go up the ridge or go over into their home range. But Alarek he waved me up. So I don't know. He wanted me to find something. So I went up. When I went up, I was shocked to find out that the peak wasn't actually the peak, that it went back like another 300 yards. And when I got to the edge, which was actually the peak, it wasn't sloped down, which is what I always thought. It was sloped down like the other side to go down. It was actually a cliff face that dropped straight down. And the only way to get down there is to propel down on ropes. Now, I was looking for a game trail to get down there, but I couldn't find any. So when they come up and they watch us at the sacred site, they come up this cliff face.
Okay.
So
Same thing. This is their range.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's
Just
a few
different angle of it. Yeah, it's just
angle.
different angles. Yeah.
And then Tex, you had a quick question, and then I'll go back to the other one.
Where you're at now, taking this picture, that goes back what we can see another 300 yards or so, right?
That's the end of the 300 yards. In front of that is
that's
Western
the
Ridge.
Drop off right there.
Yeah, that's the drop off. Yeah, because originally Chris and I were going to go and put a tent down there and spend the weekend down there. That I got the okay to come up by the white one, the king shaman. He said he's an elder, an ancient one, and so we thought we'd go down there, but there's just no way for us to get down there. To be honest, we'd have to propel down, with all our equipment, and just to get to that ridge is like a 4-mile hike in. So, it's not going to happen.
So y'all got? Is there anything else running around out there? Or
no, yeah, the western side of the woods is the Bigfoot side, and the eastern side is the Dogman side. Absolutely, yeah. So now, I haven't gone back to the eastern side since the Dogman came to my house those 2 occasions. So we made a deal. I won't come to your house. You don't come to mine. But he did show up that night. So
what do you think? And everybody's got their own take of this. On this, but what do you think the relationship between the Dogmen and the Bigfoot are?
I don't believe that they being alpha predators. I don't believe that they really like each other too much, because they're kind of eating the same food, same food sources. Right. So I would imagine they would be in competition for territory and food sources and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think they tolerate each other and respect each other's boundaries, because they're not. Here's my view on it. They're not fighting every day. One, because it's too damn risky for an injury.
Yeah.
And they're expending energy you can't spare. I mean, if you're living off the land, you just can't spare that kind of energy to expend those calories, but I think I'm not saying they have a harmonious relationship.
Yeah.
But
they probably coexist together. Little twisted mention that. I probably could go with that.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, the native
fight every time they see each other.
What I was told by the Iroquois nation up here is that Dogman or Sasquatch, if the opportunity is to rise where a young one comes in either one of their territory, they wouldn't hesitate to kill it, because then it would be one less thing they have to fight later when it gets big. That's what the way the Native Americans told me now. And I think it works both ways. I think if a juvenile Sasquatch ended up on the wrong side of the woods chasing something, and the Dogmen were there, I don't think they would tolerate it. I think they would kill it. You'd say, nope, you're we kill him now while he's small before he grows to be 12 foot, 1,500 pounds.
And of course, everybody has the debate. Oh, who do you think could win between a Bigfoot and a Dogman? I think it's an any given Sunday type situation.
I would agree with that. Absolutely, yeah.
But so, I know, because you've communicated with both. Am I right?
Yes.
So, what's the fundamental difference between? I mean, how do you know it's one or the other? Do they tell you?
The energy tells you. The energy tells you immediately what you're dealing with. Yeah, absolutely. I sent Rob an audio of the coyotes going off. The Dogman went off first, and if you listen to that audio, right in the very beginning, my cousin was there. He was quick enough to capture it, but you hear just the end of the Dogman, and then all the coyotes go off, and then the coyotes kind of simmer down, and then they go off again. And in that second round of yipping and hollering and all of that, you could hear the Dogman in between that, and that was crazy for the way. Because we were up on a high ridge and they were down below us at the lake, and that sound just rose above us. And it was, thank God it was during the day, because that night it would have really been creepy, but it was creepy during the day just as well,
You know what? I'm going to play that for us. It's about a minute. It's a little bit over a minute long, but it's got the video in the background too. So for people that are not wearing a headset, it won't come in as clear because I've been experimenting with this a little bit, but I'm going to play this. And this is what El's talking about here. Hang on a second here.
Refilming again. We're hearing all these coyotes starting to howl, get loud. Fucking A. Holy shit.
I wish I would have got that very first one. That first one didn't sound like a coyote.
That first one didn't.
No, it was big.
It was way bigger.
Yeah.
Way bigger. Almost sounded like a wolf.
Yeah, it was big.
It was huge, that first one. Way bigger. And clip it.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to hear that, I know it came out really low on here. If anybody in the chat wants to hear it better, just reach out to me and I'll send you that thing. This way you can hear it a little bit louder, a little bit clearer. I mean, on my version, it's really, really loud. I know he loses something here, but and even my version doesn't do it any justice when you're in the woods and that goes off like that. I mean, like my cousin, this was his third time out squatching. He never even heard of Dogman before, you know. And when he heard it, we didn't even unpack our gear yet. All our crap was still in the backpacks. And he just reached for his phone and I reached for my phone. He was a little bit quicker than me. And I'm almost positive in the beginning of his audio, that's why I sent you his and not mine, you could hear the dog man and then it goes off and then it comes back in. But that was just like, here we are on a high plateau and this is just coming up over the top of us and just engulfing us with all these howls and whoops and yips and everything else. And it was just insane, just absolutely insane to hear. There must have been like 30 coyotes in that pack. It was a big pack. It was crazy.
And if I understand correctly, and everybody, if you replay this, put on your headphones because I can hear pretty well something different, not the coyotes in the beginning, and I think in the middle, if I'm correct, Al.
I believe it's the second time they go off in the middle of the second time, but in the first time, it's right when he hits record, you can hear like just the end of the Dogman. It's so much deeper and louder and powerfuler than the.
Yeah, I did hear that in the very beginning with you because I listened to that like several times, just trying to pick out different things before you came on the show, and it's crazy because I heard that unfamiliar howl. And then right after that, a little bit of sounds, and all of a sudden, this pack of coyotes started going off. And is that correct? Or did I hear that correct?
Yeah, no, you heard it exactly, absolutely. And Tex has got a great audio one of the Dogman going off. So I love the one he's got.
Well, you know, and there's a lot of people that say that's not. In fact, Pops Gary Spike Sr. It's off of his property.
Okay,
and he's in the chat, and. Glad to see you back, by the way, Gary. But he doesn't feel like it's a Dogman. He feels like it's a Bigfoot.
Nah, that's a Dogman.
That's what he's been told, actually, because he communicates with the clan that's on his property. And from what he's telling me, that is the alpha, the big man is what he calls him, calling his son in, because between the howls on that recording, you hear right next to the mic. And he said that's the Rob beat me to You hear that little?
Yeah, I still think it's a dog, man. I do. I mean,
I don't. That's what I thought when
I
I
mean,
first heard it.
I'm not there. I don't know what he, I don't, obviously if he sees what he's dealing with, you know what I mean? But the dog man has a very distinct scream. It's not like a big barrel chested Sasquatch. You know what I mean?
Right.
It to me, I always describe it as like, almost like a pit bull that has a raspy kind of bark,
Right.
only a million times powerfuler, But
So,
anyway, I mean, it's just one man's opinion.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
We
it's,
all
Yeah.
all,
got 'em,
it's
right?
all subject to your opinions and what
Yeah,
we've
absolutely.
experienced,
Yeah.
Duke in the chat says it sounds more Bigfootish to him. So again,
Well,
maybe
tell
Yeah,
Duke,
everybody. I mean,
he's wrong.
everybody's got their opinion on that one, and I will say this: that's of course his property. He's about an hour or more. Yeah, I forgot how far you are from Brown Springs, Pops. About an hour or so, I think. But
Now, is that the same audio you showed in the TV show that you were on? Oh, you see, now it sounds different to me when I heard it on the TV show. When I watched it that time, it sound like this one sound deeper and bigger than it sound like on that when you played it. And I think you played it like 2 or 3 times on that show. It sound more like a dog man on that show.
Well, and the thing about it is, and I'm playing that, and I'm playing that off of my phone for them on camera. So
yeah.
it sounds a lot different when it's actually downloaded and you're able to hear it and that type of thing. But
Okay.
I don't know what it is. I'm not even gonna pretend to know what it is.
Okay.
I have my feeling of what it is, and it's different than Pop says. But Pops was there. He communicated with the clan on there. So who am I to argue?
No, absolutely not. You're not. You can't argue with that. Absolutely.
So, but yeah, it's regardless of what it is, it's big.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
it is
I
big.
know for a fact that the one I captured in the woods last time out was a dog man because it came from the east side of the woods, right by the dog man den.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was like coming up. It was like it was aimed at me, and I was like, because I said I wouldn't go in there, but I always go up to the sacred site and I never have to deal with any dog man. I think it was only one time the dog man was there. And that's when, all hell broke loose. And, we had a rake there and a dog man and a Wendigo and a skinwalker, and everybody and their mother showed up that night. But I had never had experience a dog man up at the sacred site other than that time. And like my cousin was like, do we have to worry about him coming up here? And I was like, no, this is the sacred site. This is Sasquatch, territory, and I don't think he'll come up here, and like I said, it was my cousin's 20 years old. It's the first time you've ever heard one. And he looked at me, his eyes were big as saucers. Because like I said, that recording, no matter how loud you play it, doesn't do it any justice when you're there in the moment,
Yeah. Audio, I love audio, and a lot of times it's reran and it's just different copies and versions unless you're there. I got to back up a moment though.
Go ahead.
You said something that I'm very fascinated with. You came across an experience where the Wendigo was there, a Sasquatch.
No, the Sasquatches weren't there. It was a Wendigo, a skinwalker, a rake, and a dog man.
Which are more along the same line. What the hell was that all about?
That's just a long story. I can't get into that today. We'll be here for 3 hours.
Well, you got, I'm not going anywhere until 6 o'clock this evening. No, but give us a little bits and pieces. You brought it up. Now I'm like wondering.
It's too long and complicated to get into. No,
Hey, Al,
I can't.
Hey, Al, don't worry about it. We'll do that over on my show.
Oh yeah, no, we're not. We're definitely not. No, okay. Well, Al, I tell you, there's well, you were mentioning though. Okay, well, fine. I'm very disappointed, Al, but we'll move forward. I got to say,
I guess
though,
my time here is done. Should I just?
no, your time's not done. Because you have an interesting story, though, about a. By the way, thank you, Chris Mindfork. Love you, girl. About was the bear squatch, because you got a couple.
Oh yeah, the bear squad. The photograph I showed you of the wall.
Yeah, I still have it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to show you. Why don't you walk through that a little bit? And I'll show that picture.
Yeah, we were. My cousin and I were up at the sacred site again. It was, I think that time it was Halloween. There was a solar eclipse and 0% of the moon or something to that effect. And I wanted to get out there because last year, 2020, no, not last year, 2023, I believe it was. 2023 was a very rare year. On the month of October, there was, it only happens like every 15 years or so. There was a solar eclipse, 0% of the moon. And then 2 weeks later, there was a lunar eclipse with a full moon. And I wanted to get out both times to do all of my investigating experience, because I'm working with frequency and vibration and stuff like that, you know, and I wanted to see how everything changed under those conditions. So my psychic called me up and said, "Where are you going?" I said, you know, she goes, "This is what I've seen. It's the portal is open," because it's a place of high strangeness. She said, "The portal is open and something's going to come in." And she called it a bear squatch. She said, "It's not from our realm. Doesn't know what we are or who we are." She says, "Please be careful. This thing is dangerous." So I said, "Okay." I put out glow sticks. I had one yellow glow stick in front of me. At one point, I seen 3 yellow glow sticks looking back. So I reached over to my cousin Sean and I said, "Do you see this?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, we should go over and take a look and see what the hell where did these other 2 come from, you know?" And it was about 50 yards away from us. And as we were walking over, we got about 25 feet from our base camp, and 2 of the yellow glow sticks blinked. So we stopped. And I said, "Okay, let's pull out our machetes because we don't know where we're walking into." As we got closer, 2 of the yellow glow sticks started to rise. And as they started to rise, we had very powerful headlamps on. And I said, "Put your headlamp in the flood position. Let's get as much light in front of us as we can." And we put both of our headlamps on and we lit up basically the whole back, the western ridge. And this thing stood up and up and up and up and up. And it was like 10 feet tall. And again, it looked like a bear squatch. I mean, when she's telling me bear squatch, I'm thinking Gugway, that's what I'm thinking. Because I don't know, but it looked like a bear squatch, and it seen us, and it turned and it ran from us as we started to back out. I told my cousin, "Okay, let's back out of here," and it ran from us, and it ran north up the western ridge, and at the end of that ridge is a 3 or 4 foot wall. It's like 3 feet high or 4 feet high and like 2-3 feet wide, and I just assumed that the thing jumped over the wall because it sounded like a bulldozer taking trees down on the other side. Well, when we went back this time, my cousin Sean and I said, "Let's go take a look at the northern wall, see what happens on the other." And when we got there, we found when it jumped over the wall, it didn't clear it. It took like the top of the wall down, but it didn't just take like 3 or 4 feet. It took like 10 feet of wall down, and all the rocks are pushed to the north. And what I did was we looked. I said, "Let's look for big trees that come down that may have done any damage to this wall." No big trees. All the rocks were on the other side. So we came up with the theory that when this thing jumped over that wall and we heard all that debris going flying, what we thought were trees because we left, was actually the rock wall. No, that's still the cliff.
Well,
the other one is a video. It's a video.
Yeah, I'll play the video when you're done. Yep, that's right. Yeah.
And so I had my cousin Sean stand next to it, and we videoed it, and we discussed that because after we seen the bear squatch, we left. That was our key. It was time for us to go because we called the psychic because she said, "Why are you going over to?" I told you this thing was dangerous, and so we didn't know what it was. We couldn't really see it. And so we decided to get a better look. So then she said, you guys should leave. And we did. And then as we were leaving out, it came back and it threw a giant boulder at us that went over our head, landed into the lake behind us, maybe 5 feet off the trail. The splash went up about 20 feet in the air. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to play that video too, and then you can, we'll play that for everybody, which is pretty cool. El Santariga joins us on Brunch with Bigfoot Rob. Subscribe if you're new, everybody. Like, share. Let me just, here it is. Let me switch this over a little bit.
Okay, this is Sean, and this is the northern wall. I believe this is where that creature jumped over the wall that night. We seen it the last time we were here, because you can see the wall is up on his side and the wall is up by Sean, but right in the center where that thing jumped over, and it sounded like a bulldozer going through the woods. I think he knocked these stones over, because there are no down trees here that would have taken any of these walls down, except for this little stick right here, and that's not gonna.
Yeah, and you can see how wide that girth was, So it really hit it hard,
Yeah, it seems, yeah, it would have to hit it pretty hard, because I imagine those stones were not light.
No, those stones were heavy stones. They've been there for hundreds of years. That wall hasn't moved since the American Revolution,
Safe enough to probably take cover behind in a storm or maybe even a high windstorm. I'm sure they wouldn't move.
No,
probably
they wouldn't move.
It took some force to bring that down.
Yeah, absolutely. This thing was humongous, and it was running. Didn't expect it to turn and run from us, That was like no one, but it didn't know what we were, and we didn't know what it was. We had, we were told it was a bear squatch from a different dimension, and it came back after we left. It came back because on the way out, it threw a giant boulder. I mean, I can't imagine how heavy this boulder was, but when it hit the water, that splash went up 20, 25 feet. It wasn't a small splash.
I got to run really quick. Take something for my mom real quick. If you want, text, want to continue on and talk a little bit about the bear squatch and what is in your definition. I'll be listening. She's going to the doctor. I got to do something for her. But yeah, I'll be back in a second if you want to elaborate on that. Thanks.
Okay. I mean, psychic, this is what the psychic told us. Our psychic, and Brian will tell you this too. She tells us the craziest stuff, Tex, and we take it with a grain of salt, because, there are times like my cousin, the first time my cousin was introduced to our psychic and she was telling us stuff, he was laughing hysterical. Like he was like, what is this chick smoking? You know what I mean? But she's 5th generation. She's part Cherokee. And I got to be brutally honest. She doesn't claim to be 100% right all the time, but every single time I've used her and all the crazy stuff that she's told me over the years, it's at the end of the night when you go to check all the boxes, she's always right, and so when we called her immediately after we seen it, and she's like, okay, it's time for you to leave. So we packed up and left. We weren't going to push it any further, because the last thing we wanted is for that thing to come back. So we just wanted to get out of Dodge in one piece, plus my cousin's father threatened me, make sure you bring the kid home in one piece, the only son I have. And so I was like, yeah, we'll get the kid home in one piece. But the kid's got balls of steel, to be honest with you. And he's very psychic. He had a lot of psychic ability as well. So a lot of the stuff, I'll think something and then he'll say it. And it's uncanny. Every time we go out, this happens. I'll be thinking something and he'll turn to me and he'll say, you know what, cuz? And he'll say exactly what I'm thinking. Like he could hear my thoughts. And it's crazy. But that was a pretty wild night. And, we got out of Dodge after we seen that thing, because it was like, when the psychic tells it's dangerous, right. We listen to her. We don't push the envelope when she tells us something. We pack our bags and we hightail it out of there.
I want to know more about the rake.
Well, the rake,
because
I
These
only
things,
seen the rake one time on the Parkway. Now the night that all four of those things showed up,
right?
the way I did see the skinwalker and the Wendigo following us. But when she said that the rake and the dogman were going to be there too, and she said the way you would be able to tell them apart is by their eye shine. And she said the rake's eye shine was going to be blue. And when we were sitting at base camp filming the Western Ridge, you could see like the amber color eyes, which we just assumed was the dog man, the blue eyes, which she said was going to be the rake, the green eyes, which we thought was the Wendigo, and the red eyes, which we thought was the skinwalker. And that's how she described it. This is what she said. These are the eye shines. You're going to see them all on the same ridge, and they're all going to be watching you. She said, but don't worry about it because the sacred site was bound. I had bound it again. I had another telepathic communications with the white Sasquatch, Alaric, and he told me to go there before the investigation and bound the site. And when I went to bind the site, I actually called Chris Reinhardt up to tell him where I was. And because Chris and I went there one time, and Chris had an experience there. While I was trying to bind, seal it, cleanse it, and seal it, something was hitting me with infrasound. And I actually had to go behind the giant oak tree and get out of the way of the infrasound because it was, screwing me up. And after I was able to get my bearings back, I went back out and I finished binding. So something tried to stop me from binding the site and cleansing it, but I ended up getting through it anyway, And again, I don't usually go out there by myself, but it was something I was told I needed to do before I was going to go, and we were getting ready to go, and it was my only day off, so I had to go out there by myself to do that, So,
What do you think was trying to bind you? I mean, I've heard of many. I know that a lot of people suggest you pray or burn whatever that sage or whatever. That must be a powerful force. I'm just assuming. I have no idea. Something is working against you, trying to fight you. What type of entity is that?
yeah, I mean,
In your opinion?
infrasound is something that a lot of mammals do. The whales can do it, lions and tigers can do it. It's just a frequency that's below our hearing, our hertz of hearing, and it can mess with your vital organs, and it can mess with any of your organs in your body. You know what I mean? And so it's not healthy to stay there and take long periods of time being hit by this stuff. So as soon as I felt it, I got out, I got behind a tree, you know what I mean? And until I was able to regain myself and cool, because you start to over sweat, you get the cold sweats and you overheat and you get disoriented. And I was pouring cold water over my head. And Chris actually said, he said, I'm going to stay on the phone until you're back to normal because no one knows where you are except me, in case something bad happens. And I was actually, I caught my second wind. And when I came out from behind the tree the second time, the infrasound was gone. It wasn't there anymore. It wasn't hitting me. And I was able to bind the site and seal it. And I was told by the psychic, because we did that beforehand, that all of these entities that were coming in and coming through the portal that was open that night weren't going to be able to harm us as long as we stayed inside the sacred site, So it was a crazy night. Just a lot of stuff went on, and I mean, just so much stuff. It was nuts.
I've talked to a lot of people that have gotten hit with a variety of infrasound, ultrasound, whatever you want to call it. I certainly did. Al, you've experienced. I don't think I've ever asked you, Tex. You've been in the field numerous times. You've seen the dog man. You've seen Bigfoot. Have you ever experienced anything that you thought where you felt different, where you were disoriented or out of the element?
Yeah, actually, I have once. We were up in the cemetery, and so I don't know because the symptoms are so similar with the high MF versus the infrasound that they can affect you in the same way. So, and we didn't have any meters or anything with us, but we we were walking in a single file line, and we were walking on the front side of the cemetery on the downhill side, and I was on point, and I was feeling, I felt great, no problem. And we're walking along, and all of a sudden I broke out in a cold sweat. The color drained from my face. I got weak. I thought I was fixing to pass out. I'm leaning against a tree, and I'm like, y'all go ahead. I got to, and they were like, no. And it lasted 5 to 7 minutes. And then it left as soon as quick as it came on me. I mean, and I felt better afterwards than I did before. So I don't know what it was. I can't say what it was. Nobody else in the group was affected. There were 4 of us, and we were single file line, and I was in front. But we did have a lot of activity that night, and I don't think anything had happened that night was paranormal in nature. I think we were dealing with Bigfoot at that point, because we got screamed at twice later that night. And when we went around, and that's the same night that we found the cedar tree that had all the limbs stripped off of it from about 15 feet up on one side, and they were all piled up down at the bottom. And so you tell something had been sleeping in these cedar limbs. Right?
Yeah.
And we had walked down on the back side of the cemetery, and I found this big game trail, and I've been down this game trail since, but this is the first time we saw it. And I said, hey, let's go down this game trail. I took 2 steps towards that game trail, and we get this, coming out of the game trail, and the guy in the back said, time to go.
Gentlemen, I gotta just excuse myself for 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay. So yeah, but that's the only time I've ever been zapped, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it was that or not.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. I mean, it could have been one of 3 things. It could have been infrasound. It could have been high EMF, or it could have been something trying to attach itself to me.
Tex. Yeah. I mean, I love talking to people about this, because everybody we've spoken throughout the last several years, it affects people differently. I remember Cindy Goodbreak experienced it, and she got nausea. She got, almost had to, for lack of a better word, throw up. Whatever I got hit with when I was there, it seemed like when I hit that blast, when I got screamed at, it seemed like everything turned like a black and white, and I got paralyzed, man, as you well know. Couldn't move, and I felt differently. Didn't feel sick. Your experience. So for me, I'm wondering if it was a different frequency that's being emanated, a different entity emanating these things, because everybody's experience is different. Like, unlike a lot of experiences with a Bigfoot or a Dogman or whatever, it seems like everybody that comes across being zapped, as they say,
Right.
it seems a little different. Thank you, Gary Spikes, for 5 new pirate members. Arr, mateys. Thank you, Gary. So yeah, what do you think? Why do you think that is different for everybody, at least for all the people we've spoken with?
Well, and I think you just answered your own question, really, because I think it's like anything else. It affects everybody differently, because not everybody's exactly the same. So these frequencies are not going to affect everybody in the same exact way. It may take a little more let's talk about the brown sound, because you cannot deny that. They know it. They've experimented with it. They know it's there, but it's different for everybody. Some you may be standing next to somebody and they crap themselves when they get hit with it, but you get a severe stomachache, and it doesn't maybe affect everybody as severely as it would somebody else, or maybe you get a different feeling. Maybe it makes you dizzy or something like that. So I think it's just varying from person to person,
Yeah, I also think it depends on how much they put in your direction. You know how powerful it is too, because the military's been using sound waves as weapons for years. You know, since the '90s, and a little bit will make you sick, and a lot can kill you. So it all depends on how direct you're getting hit with it. You know, maybe the guy next to you is getting part of it as well, and you're only getting part of it, or maybe you're getting the brunt of it, and everybody behind you is not getting anything. So yeah, and I also believe, like Tech said, everybody handles it differently. You know what I mean? So
Yep. And Sir Brian, each individual has a certain tolerance for EMF and other type of waves and frequencies, depending upon their tolerance, will dictate whether they get really sick or they just have a headache, which again, I agree with that. I think that makes sense.
I mean, we've talked to people that they've been popped with it and it made them sick for a month.
Yep. Yep.
I know people that have been sent to the hospital because they're pissing blood. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
you know, there's a few more things I want to get through in this show, because you also sent me some video on some unknown phenomenon, maybe orbs, maybe some sort of
UFO.
UFO.
Yeah, definitely a craft.
We'll bring that up. I have several videos to show everybody.
So we don't have time for the nest then.
Well, I have a video. I think I have the video in there. Yeah, we have time for anything. I just want to.
No, we'll go where you want to go. Go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to prepare everybody, but I did want to talk about the EMF meters. What was this? I'm going to show you. Have two different pictures of the EMF readings you got. Now, I don't recall.
Not EMF. That's Geiger counter. That was radiation. Yeah.
And this was for what? I'm going to show those readings. If you can walk us through what this was all about. And I'm going to, I find it very interesting. I've never had anybody show me this before. This is why I kind of dig it.
I do 250 different kind of readings 20 times a night when I'm up there, you know, depending on what ritual I'm doing to change the energy, you know. So
here's Geiger counter 1.
That was actually, I think that was probably should be number 2, because that was up. Yeah, that's number 1. That was at base camp, and it was low. It was ground radiation. Nothing you could see was in the green. There was nothing there that was dangerous whatsoever. And then when we went up on the ridge, Chris Reinhardt actually asked me to do this. He wanted to see what the difference of the radiation would be, because when I was at a symposium a long time ago, and I was talking to I can't think of the guy's name. He was an electrical engineer. Brian, if you remember, help me out. And he told me the way you can tell when a portal opens up is the radiation level goes through the roof. And so that's why we started playing with Geiger counters. So this was at the base camp, and it was basically ground level radiation, nothing to write home about.
Okay.
When we went up on to the high ridge, you could see it was even much lower up on the ridge, you know.
Okay.
And he was wondering if it would be higher up there because they spend more time up there. You know, we found the nest up on the ridge as well. So, but no, it was definitely almost nothing up there.
So why do we experience these different levels? What's the significance? Is it something that it's showing us that there's something that was in the area, maybe like a UFO craft puts off a radiation, or?
No, basically the way I do it is just to see, like, you know, your body will tell you too when you're around radiation. Okay. Your teeth will tingle, your tongue will tingle, your fingers will tingle. You'll start feeling all of these sensations going on through your body. I get them at a lot of paranormal events. Like I'll taste like pennies in my mouth, or my fingers will tingle. So, but when a portal opens up and the radiation goes through the roof, yeah, you could feel it with your body if you know what's happening. A lot of times we don't know what's happening, but if you have a Geiger counter with you, you know it's the actually radiation level that's going high, you know, really going through the roof. And then what you want to do is you want to see what comes through. We're trying to investigate, research things from other dimensions. And Brian, will tell you, we were in a portal, we were in a stone chamber one time, and we did a radiation level test, and it was, just ground radiation. And then we hit it with all kinds of frequencies, and the radiation went through the roof. And I was filming him, and he was filming me, and something came out from behind me, and it actually leaned out to look at us. But when it leaned out from behind me, it leaned right in the doorway of this stone chamber, which was daytime. So you could see a figure of a shadow figure, but it came out from the stone. It wasn't coming out from the other side of the chamber. It came out from inside that chamber because we had opened the portal. And when it ducked back in and we closed, Brian said, I think we should go because the radiation level is getting really high, And so we wanted to get out of there because nobody wanted to die of radiation poisoning. But when we checked, we went back in a little while later when the radiation level came down, and we checked. There was nothing there. It's nothing but these giant megalithic stones putting this chamber together. And where it came out of is beyond me. It didn't come out of the stone, but it came out of somewhere, Yeah, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to see what comes out. We're filming in all different spectrums of light to see if we've been able to capture it. That was one of the nests, capture what's coming out at us, And sometimes we're lucky enough to capture something, and sometimes it doesn't matter what spectrum of light we're filming in. We don't see anything, but your body will tell you, that there's something going on.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I have a couple of these nest pictures.
The nest pictures are wild. Absolutely.
I think now you gotta let me know because I forget. Was this is no?
That's a nest. Yeah, that's a nest
Okay.
right there. That big indentation in the ground. Well, I didn't know that these nests were up on the Western Ridge because I had never gone up on the Western Ridge. That was my deal with them. I would stay down, and when I'm there, they would come and visit me. They would come down off the ridge. So, but being waved up by Alaric, we went up, and as soon as we got to the top of the peak, I was being pulled to my right, and my cousin was being pulled to the left. And we're both taking photographs, and we're both filming. And again, this kid, this is maybe his 5th investigation with me. He doesn't really know anything, but he's very sensitive. He's he has a lot of psychic ability. He's filming. I don't know what he's saying because he's 100 yards away from me. And he's saying in his video that we found Bigfoot nest, which is exactly what I'm saying at the other end of the location. Because to me, that's not only were they, I would have loved to got there before the leaves came down on them and seen what the bedding was inside. But there was so many leaves on the ground then I didn't have a rake with me. I wasn't going to dig down with my hand to see what's underneath. But they were set up across the Western Ridge, like 2 rows, but they were set up very strategically. There wasn't any nest that was blocking the view of the nest behind it. Everybody got a clear view of what was coming over that ridge, no matter what nest you were in. And some were small. That was one of the smaller ones. And one was really, really huge. But there was I'm going to say there was like 10 of them, maybe 15. But the thing that got me was when I stepped back and I looked at it from a distance and I seen how the holes were set up. I said, this is set up strategically, like foxholes. You know what I mean? This is how you would set up a foxholes, so that the guy shooting from behind is not shooting the guy in front of him, And I thought that was very, very telling, because my cousin is like, well, couldn't it have just been like a tree here and a tree fell down and this, that, and the other thing and made this big hole? And I was like, yeah, it could be. But do you see any trees? We took pictures of the whole area. You see any trees laying around? No. You see any root balls laying around? No.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, might have your naysayers saying that that's just like a valley or a ditch in the woods that got filled in. people are going to ask.
Yeah, and again, my cousin throughout he says, well, how about if people say there was a big stone here and it washed away from the rain because it's on a ridge? I was like, okay, if there was a big stone here and it washed away, where is it? There are no big stones laying against any trees that are on the ridge. If there was a giant stone here, it would have been pinned against some of the trees or down at the bottom of the ridge. There aren't any giant loose stones at the bottom of the ridge that aren't part of the mountain itself, And like I said, if I could have got there before the leaves came down and seen what the bedding was in it, then I could honestly say 100% that these were nests. But he had the same vibe that I had, and the way they were set up strategically. Again, one man opinion, don't kill me on this, but I truly believe they were nests. And I think that's why we were supposed to go up there and find him. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Yeah.
I've seen, a lot of the nest pictures that I've been seeing are actually somewhat similar. Some more descriptive than others, but what do you think is the significance behind these nests? Do you think it's for birthing of young, or just a place to hang out and just get some rest?
I think they're to me they look like day nests, some place just to plop down and have the high ground and be able to see if anything's coming up at you. Because you got to understand, just below that western ridge is the sacred site, and the sacred site is on a high plateau, and then it drops down again. You got to go down like another mile to get to the lake or to the Appalachian Trail. So if you're coming up off that trail and you're coming up to that high plateau, if they're in those nests and they could be laying down where we can't see them, but still be able to see us coming up onto the high plateau, And if anything tried to flank them on either side, there would be no way anything could flank them without them seeing it. So I think it's a strategically placed resting area, because you got to remember their home range is on the other side.
So this place where you're finding these what you think is nests, that's the high ground.
Yes,
overlooks everything.
That's the western ridge. What I thought was the peak. Yeah.
Okay. Here's another thought. Just how big are they?
You know what, Tex? I didn't measure them, but there were small. Circumference, maybe the smallest one was maybe 10, 12 feet in circumference. And the biggest one was 20. I mean, they were, they varied in size.
Right.
Yeah.
I just had the thought, and I don't know, because the way it looked, the depression and everything, I thought maybe it might be graves.
I don't know if they're graves. That I don't know.
Very shallow grave.
Yeah, that I wouldn't. I don't know. But like I said,
no, it was just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely it's a thought. Absolutely.
And that's how we roll. We all throw out our thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to hear your thoughts on this stuff too. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm open to all suggestions and any suggestion. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just like I said, it didn't even though like my cousin's filming and I'm filming, or we're both thinking these are nests. Right. The light bulb really didn't go on until I stepped back and I looked at it at a distance.
Right.
And to me, it looked like foxholes from a military can. I was like, holy crap, these are like foxholes, And that's when I said, these are strategically placed here, and that's what really sold it for me, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found nests that look like giant eagle's nests on the ground. You know what I mean? Like what they found in the Olympic project.
I've seen that. Yeah,
I found nests that were inside of teepees and stuff like that. That had bedding inside it and everything. Right. But I never found anything like that before. That was the first.
Yeah, we had Shane Corson on some time ago. Me and Chris on the night show, and he had that's exactly what you're talking about. He showed us some pictures, which was really fascinating. I want to get some other fascinating videos you sent me because
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
people are gonna love these. It's still changing it up just a little bit. It's crazy phenomenon. But before we do that, I just want to briefly thank. Who am I looking for? You are live. It says, yeah, I know I'm live. I want to thank Mindfork, Chris. Go check out Mindfork on YouTube. She's got a pretty cool variety show. For her awesome super sticker. Krista with the blondes and the boost. Thank you for your super chat, super sticker. And Gary Sr. Mateys, 5 new pirates. Thank you guys. Donations not expected, always appreciated across all of our channels. We love and appreciate you guys. You guys in the chat room or listening elsewhere around the world that don't participate in chat. We love you guys. Thank you for helping drive our shows. So yeah, I do want to move on with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
These cool videos you sent me because there's something behind these, and we all talk about everything being connected, and certainly this is no different. And there's about 4 short ones, so I'll just show one at a time here, and we'll talk briefly on each. So here we go. Let me make sure I just got us on the side here. Okay, here we go. So yeah, that was the first of 4.
Now that particular one was the last one I filmed until last night, but that one was different from all the other ones because that one happened 4:30 in the morning on my way to work. I was walking out the front door and a little voice in my head said, look up, and I seen. Now you got to understand, I had already filmed these three different times, and I said to myself, how many times am I going to film the same thing, you know? So
Right.
I really wasn't going to film it. It's 4:30 in the morning. I'm on my way to work. I'm tired. I don't really care if you're up there, you know? And the little voice in my head said, no, film this. This is important. So I filmed it. And as I was filming it, my voice said, ask it if it is you. So I said, if you see me, acknowledge me. And it flashed. And I thought it was just a quick flash, you know, when I seen it happen in person. But when I rewind the video, that orb blew up to like 10 times its size, and then it shrunk right back down. And we've done CE5s where we had crafts acknowledge us with flashes, you know, but I've never had telepathic communication with a craft where it acknowledged me like that. And that just blew me away.
And for people that don't know what CE5 is, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that where you sit out there and you mentally throw out into the
universe? Yeah.
Universe, hey, come see me, or
Yes.
kind of something like that.
Yes.
Even Greer thing.
Yeah, we do a meditation. Brian usually runs everybody through it. He does the meditation. And usually there's a lot of us out there, anywhere from, 15 to 50 of us. And we ask for, some kind of sign to come in. And we've been very, very lucky. We've had them come in. We've had them do maneuvers for us. And we've had one. I was doing a Morse code with my tactical phone, and it was flashing back. And then before the last time it flashed so bright that I swear to God, it lit up this ballpark that was as big as Yankee Stadium. It lit up this ballpark that was daytime. That's how bright it flashed. And then it zipped off and it was gone in a blink of an eye. But to have that actually happen telepathically, communicate with it, and it acknowledged me, totally blew my mind.
I'm going to move on to the second video now for everybody. Whoops, let me set this up. All right, here we go. Second video from Al. Now that was one and a little more stationary, right? That's pretty accurate assessment, obviously.
Yeah. I'm trying my best to keep the cameras as steady as possible. I'm got my elbows tucked into my ribs. I'm taking shallow breaths because I don't want it to look like it's making maneuvers, because it's not. It's actually stationary, you know. Yeah, and the reason I filmed it 3 times, 3 separate weeks, is because I wanted to see, when you blow these up, when you enlarge them, you can see that they look like a germ underneath the telescope, underneath the magnifying microscope, and they all have the same thing. They're different colors moving inside of them, and they're all putting off some kind of a halo kind of thing. So I said, let me film it like 2 or 3 times to see if it's the same craft every night. You know what I mean? And my wife, the way the whole thing started was, my wife was going to close the curtains one night around 7 o'clock at night, and she seen this look like a gold star hanging in the sky. And she said, babe, what's this? And I went over and I looked at it, and just jokingly, I said, it's Venus. It's always Venus, you know? So I said, I'm going to go out and see. So I have a star app on my phone, and you can punch in any constellation. It'll tell you if it's in that area, or the same thing with the planets. So I went through all the constellations. I went through all the planets, and there was nothing in that area what it should be. So I started filming. And the first time I filmed, then the second time it came back. I didn't have any of my high-tech stuff ready to go the first time because it was all packed because we were going squatching the next day. But the second time I filmed it in IR, UV, regular thing, and thermal, and it did not show up on the thermal at all. So I don't know what kind of energy source it's got, but it wasn't putting off any heat. And you can show the other videos too. Yeah.
I got 2 left on my show. I'll show them back to back. If you
Okay.
don't mind, then you can, talk about them.
Okay.
Okay, that was that one, and the last one. So before you give talk us and walk us through that, I'm gonna give you my impression. I've seen orbs. I've seen the 4 videos. I'm thinking that there's some sort of UFO activity. I think that might be a crash. I don't know my problem is I don't know how big it is, so there's for scale. But you think there was some sort of craft versus an actual orb?
Yeah, no, I think it was a craft, because in the still shot I don't think I sent you the still shot. In the still shot, it looks like a triangle shape with like a globe going through the middle of it. But let me just explain how weird this thing is. So the third time it shows up, I get my high-powered binoculars out, right? That I use when I go shooting downrange 300 yards. Some of my guns don't have scopes; they just have red dots. So I take my binoculars out and I tell my wife, here, go look at it. Tell me what you see. Because when you look at it with the naked eye, it looks like a gold star. When you film it, it looks like a germ underneath the microscope, right? So she picks up the binoculars and she looks at it and she says, oh my God, it's got tentacles hanging down. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't see any tentacles. So I grab the binoculars from her. She gets pissed off because I'm yelling at her. What do you tell you talking about? And I look at it. And now when I look at it, the tentacles aren't hanging down, but they're faced this way. And it almost, through the binoculars, it almost looks like a squid. It looked different in every spectrum of light. It was so crazy. And yeah, so I mean, it's just mind-boggling. And then the last time it showed up, I got a 1500 luma flashlight, and I was doing a Morse code, and I put this Morse code on this craft with this 1500 luma flashlight and every time it showed up, it was freezing cold. And I'm filming it for like 5. I'm not filming. I'm actually hitting it with I'm filming, but I got the light on it. And it's starting to move in towards me, right? It's starting to make a move towards me. And I got this light on it. And then all of a sudden, and I don't know what happened, all of a sudden, the craft was gone. And a Cessna airplane is flying at me. Now, anybody knows anything about Cessnas, they sound like crop dusters. You can hear them a mile away, okay? I did not hear this plane until the UFO disappeared. And then this thing came right at me. And again, I kept that Morse code on that Cessna the whole time it flew over. And it was flying northeast towards Massachusetts. And I kept that light on it the whole time it flew over my house. That whole night, I was expecting either the sheriff or the state police to knock on my door to ask me what the hell was going on. And no one showed up. Now, was that Cessna really a Cessna? It sounded like it when it went over my house. Or was that an image that the aliens were putting in my head? Because I don't know where the UFO went to. I didn't see it go up, down, east, or west. It just disappeared, and the plane came out from right behind it. So talk about weird shit. It's unbelievable. I don't know what happened. It's just mind-boggling.
That is mind-boggling. I forgot I couldn't download the one video you had too. You had military copters, I think you
Oh,
filmed.
yeah. When we were at the sacred site, every time we go to the sacred site, as soon as we get there now, an invisible helicopter shows up. And you can feel the percussion of the blades. Well, not the last time, but the time before that, it actually was so low that it was making the leaves fly all over the place. But it's not showing up in any of the spectrums of light that I'm filming in. And at one point, it came back at night, and I pulled out my green laser, and I said, I'm going to find where this goddamn thing is. And I went all over the sky waiting for that laser to stop. But the whole time I had that laser up there, it went to infinity. It never hit anything. So but I was quick enough that day to film it because I had my phone in my hand. I said, I'm going to film. I've heard of helicopters being blacked out helicopters that don't make any noise, but I've never heard of invisible helicopters that made noise that you can't see, So I wanted to show everybody how beautiful the sky was, crystal clear, blue sky, and the helicopter was right over us, but you just couldn't see it. You just couldn't see it.
And really quickly before I forget, because I know you're in the New York area, but probably close to Jersey, brown dwarf, Bigfoot dwarf now. He wonders if you got any of the recent drones in your area from, it's been going on the last several months. Any experiences with that? Wondering?
When all that drone stuff was happening here in New Jersey, all the stuff that I filmed was filmed in the end of October, beginning of November, and all that drone stuff happened like at the end of November, beginning of December. No, we didn't really have any drone stuff happening upstate. I believe they had some down in the city. And they had it in Jersey because a lot of people reached out to me regarding the drones. And I was like, listen, if you have drones flying over your house and like a whole squadron of drones flying over your house, it's the government.
Right.
Only the government can do this. Don't listen to them when they say they don't know what it is. They know exactly what it is. They got some new technology that they're trying out on civilians that they're not supposed to try out on civilians, according to the of our Constitution, but they're doing it anyway. And then Trump came in and said, yes, the FAA knew what it was, and it was military exercises, but we can't tell you exactly what. And that's what I told everybody. I said, it's not China. It's not an alien invasion. It's
Right.
your government at work.
Right.
Yeah.
Tex, we're gonna get ready to wrap it up in a minute. You got any final thoughts? It's been a fantastic show. Tex, what's your thoughts on these on these last 4 videos on these phenomenon in the sky?
And I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, right. Well, yeah,
it's there's so much crazy stuff going on here lately, the last year or so, that and people talk about the veil thinning and everything, and I gotta agree. I mean, there's so many other reports, but the thing about it is, Al, for me, it's the wide range of different things that are going on like all at one time. It's like you were saying when you were out stomping around out there, you had all these different entities around you at one time. When does that happen? I mean, now you got all this, sky funky stuff going on. I don't know what's going on, brother.
Yeah, my daughter's freaking out. She thinks I'm going to get abducted because I'm filming these things, and I'm talking to them telepathically now. They've been away for a while now, but last night I noticed it was out there again. So I filmed it first. So I do my test first with the Star app and the Planet app. And then I see if there's there, because if it's one of those planets, then of course I'm not going to bother. But again, nothing was in that area of the sky at that point in time. So I filmed it again last night. And again, it seems like it was the same thing that was out there in early November, late October. And if you blow those things up, if you enlarge them, you can see text. I know it sounds stupid, but it looks like a germ underneath a microscope spinning around, and it's putting off all these different colors, and every single one of them was exactly the same. And that's why I believe I was dealing with the same craft over and over again, I mean, and that was another reason why I wanted to get out on 2023, those 2 weeks in October, because it's not going to happen for another 15 years. And in 15 years, I'm going to be 70 something years old. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be able to hike 4 miles out into the woods.
Yeah, you will.
And carry 60 pounds worth of equipment with me. And let me tell you, just to finish up real quick.
Yeah, no, good.
When my cousin and I was leaving that night, the woods, we had come down off the high ridge, and we were on a little hill. We came down off the hill. The dog man was on that hill. I don't know why he was over on the Sasquatch side of the lake, but he screamed at us again. I mean, so loud that my cousin was behind me. It went through my cousin, and it went through me. And I turned to my cousin, and it's a 4-mile hike out. And I said, listen, we're going to hike out tonight nonstop. I'm not stopping for breaks. I'm not stopping for water. We're just getting the hell out of here, because I didn't want this thing to flank us, because there's only one way out, and I didn't want to have to fight it. And he's like, okay, if you feel like you're up to it. He's a 20-year-old kid. He could go all day, And on our way out, we got about a mile away from the car when we seen yellow eye shine in the woods looking at us at about the 5-foot level. And I thought for sure it was the dog man flanking us. And as we got closer, I was expecting it to turn and run like a deer, but it didn't. It came out onto the mining road, stopped in front of us. It looked like a big buck with big antlers and everything looking at us. And my cousin and I are looking at it, and we're both laughing hysterical, because it's looking at us like it wants to tell us something. But it looks like a deer. So my cousin goes, is this the way deer act? Because he's from the city. He doesn't know. And I said, no, they usually run. They hightail it out of here. So I said, let's just keep walking and see what happens. We walked up to we got about 3 feet next to it, and it walked across the road, and it stopped on the other side, and it turned around and it looked at us again like it wanted to tell us something. And we looked at it and we're laughing hysterical because whatever it was, it obviously wasn't a buck. I don't know what it was. The psychic said it was an elemental just watching over us, making sure we got out okay because of the dog man. But it was the strangest thing you've ever experienced in your life. And we kind of forgot all about the dog man. We were just laughing so much because this thing looked like it wanted to talk to us, but it looked like a giant buck. Crazy shit. Can't make this shit up.
You can't. And, unfortunately, you're going to do the Wendigo story on Texas show, Texas stole it. We'll come back and do that one. This is a fantastic show. If you guys notice me, excuse myself. My mom missed her doctor's appointment. Just as I was saying she's doing well, she can't drive. I have to take her to her doctor's here in a few minutes when we wrap this up. But Al, I gotta tell you, man, where can we find you? Any social media, anything where people can reach out to you? And
you can find me on Facebook at the BPS group page or team page on Facebook. You got any questions, you want to see any of the videos personally, just reach out to me on Facebook Messenger and I'll send them to you. I got nothing to hide from anybody. And
no, absolutely.
And it's all out there anyway on the BPS page if you want to look at it.
And really quickly for Zoe, I tell everybody to turn on your alert bells for you, Zoe or Zoe. This show's on 9 o'clock and 9 in the East, Thursday at 1 in the East, Saturday at 11 in the East. You can also find Tex Mondays at 9 in the East. And Tex, where are your other shows? Give out your times right for Zoe really quickly.
Do Waking Up Weird on Wednesday mornings at 8. And then I've been doing night shows when I can, so
again, the key things, though, is just put on the alert bell to everybody. We're on 7 days a week typically. I want to thank all the new people for coming on in and subscribe if you're new. Also, thank you to Mind for the Blondes and the Booze for your awesome super chats. Gary Spike Sr. for indoctrinating 5 new pirates to the show. Yeah, man, it's always a pleasure having you on. Wealth of information, and you've been out there doing this a long time, and no, you're young enough to keep on keeping on. You look like you're 37 and a half, for God's sake. Maybe it's because you dyed the beard. I don't know.
Well, I do kind of. I mean, I was talking to somebody at work the other day. I work, armed guard, and I was telling somebody, if you would have told me at 18 that at 62 I'd still be pumping iron, I would have kicked your ass. You know what I mean? But here I am. I'm 62, and I'm still working out every day because you got to be able to take somebody down if you need to.
Oh, and speaking of your security work, this is a story you did with me and Tex a while back, which people got to hear. Look at the archives. About what the hell was that in that, oh God, that creepy apartment building you managed with the apparitions in the parking structure, if I remember correctly. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about the shadow figure that
with
walked
the
across?
elevator? Yeah. Well, yeah, it was creepy. It was a shadow figure in a basement of where you were working. I think you were working.
Oh, wow. Okay. You're talking about where the kids got possessed?
Yes.
The little kid got possessed?
Oh boy, that
was crazy. Yeah, absolutely insane. Yeah.
Well, Al is full of great accounts and experiences, I must say, that you've come across. You're an awesome friend, and you always have great material for us. Always something new with Al. So I want to thank you.
Try to keep busy. You know what I mean?
You keep it busy. You keep it fresh. And again, don't forget to subscribe to our channels across the board. Hit that like button on the way out. Eventbrite, go check it out if you want to come to our conference in Missouri, the 19th and the 20th of September. Fantastic lineup. With that being said, duty calls for good old BMR. Thanks to Tex. Thanks to Al. Thanks for everybody for coming on in the chat room and listening otherwise elsewhere. I am BMR for Tex, for Al. We're out.
Good night.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future.